Welcome to the Craft Test, everyone. My name is Vanessa. On today's DIY video, I'm going to take some gnomes and some sleighs that are ornaments from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to transform them into these high-end gnome piece decors for Christmas. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook, where I post super quick and easy DIYs, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I post new videos every week. Now let's get on with today's craft. So to do my first little gnome from the Dollar Tree, they're really cute, but obviously they're not that good looking. So we're going to give them a little wardrobe makeover. So for one of them, I'm going to take this old sweater that I had. I had already used this for one of my pumpkins that I did for a Thanksgiving decoration, and you can watch that video on my channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the neck part of the sweater, because this is going to be part of his hat. Once I cut that off, I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to use some of the material to make his actual clothes. So let's finish cutting this off, and then we'll continue making his clothes. So now that I removed the neck of the sweater, I just put it to the side, and I'm going to start to make his little clothes. I want to make sure that I don't ruin his little beard, because I'm not going to do anything to the beard. I'm going to leave it as is. I'm not taking any measurements. I'm just going straight around underneath his beard, and I'm going to start attaching the sweater, and I'm going to basically wrap it and form it around his body. Nothing calculated. I'm going to just give him like a little suit, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically mold it around his body. So let's continue to do that. So now that I finished making his little suit, I'm going to leave the arms for later. I want to start working on the hat. So I'm going to take the neck of the sweater, and I'm going to make it as the band of his hat. I want to do this part because I think this part might cause me a little bit extra work, and I'm going to leave his sleeves for the last part. So again, nothing calculated. I'm just going to put a little hot glue on the trim, making sure that I don't get any on the beard, and I'm going to attach the trim that's going to be his hat. So let's continue with this part. So now that I've finished putting the trim on his hat, I'm going to cover his hat, the top part, and I'm going to use the same material that I used for his clothes. And again, the same thing. I'm going to just use hot glue and try and cover it. Now I do want to keep the shape of his original hat, because I like that shape. It gives him that little elf gnome look, and I don't think I can do that on my own, shaping it that way. So I'm going to try my best and try and keep the shape. Now I'm going to stick the material right underneath the flap or the brim of the hat. This way I can get it in there and it will stick properly inside the brim. So let's continue with this part. So now that he's pretty much done, and I actually forgot to videotape how I did his sleeves, but all I did was I just wrapped some material around his arms, and that's all I did for his sleeves. Now I'm going to take this chenille yarn that's also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make a trim around his sleeves. So it kind of gives that little winter coat look, or that little Santa look. So with this yarn that is also from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to trim his sleeves. Let's continue with this. So now that he's completely done, I actually am not thrilled with the way that his black boots stand out with his outfit, because I'm all about the details. So I am taking this yarn that I had. I don't even know where I got this yarn. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wrap it around his little feet in order to change the color of his boots. So I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue, and then I'm just going to wrap it around because this yarn has some beige and brown tones, and it kind of matches with his little outfit. So the only thing I'm doing is putting hot glue, a little bit of hot glue underneath his foot, and I'm going to start wrapping the yarn around it in order to change the color of his little boots. Let's continue with this part. So now this little guy is almost done, and he is going to be ready to be put to the side so we can work on his sleigh. I even added a little pom-pom, which is a cotton ball, to his hat, and I am loving the way he looks. So now let's begin to do his sleigh. So I'm taking this sleigh. It's also from the Dollar Tree. I don't know if it's supposed to be an ornament or what, but I love it. It is actually an ornament, as I can read on the tag. But it fits perfectly for our little gnome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some chalk paint in the lace white color and give it a very light coat, just probably 1 or 2 coats. I don't want it to be that white. I like the color of the sled itself. It actually matches with his little outfit. So all we're going to do here is 1 coat, and we're going to let this dry. So let's continue painting the sled. So now that the sleigh is dry, I'm going to take some Mod Podge and some very fine iridescent glitter, and I'm going to give the sleigh a little sparkle. I like all of my Christmas decorations to have a little sparkle. So just a thin coat of Mod Podge with some glitter. So let's finish up this part. So now that the Mod Podge has dried, I'm going to take this silver glitter ribbon. It's also from the Dollar Tree. You can find it in the Crafter Square section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ribbon to the sides of the sleigh in order to give it a little pop against the creamish color that it has. So all I'm going to do is hot glue a strip of the glitter ribbon to both sides. So let's continue with this. So now I'm going to take this ornament, also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make it seem that our little gnome is pulling this snowflake on his sleigh. So now the last part is I'm going to hot glue the gnome and the snowflake ornament onto the sleigh, and we will be done with this first gnome. So let's continue with that part. So now we're going to start with gnome number 2, and I'm going to take some white felt and I'm going to cover the bottom half of his body. I'm going to make it look like he has a cape on this one. So first I'm going to do the same exact thing we did with gnome number 1 and just wrap the felt right around his body, making sure that I don't ruin his beard, because I'm not going to add anything to the beard. I want to keep it the way it is. So I'm going to follow the outline of the beard and start gluing down the felt with hot glue. So let's continue with that. So now that I've finished covering his body a bit, still not complete, I'm going to take this wine bottle gift bag. It's also from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use the white, I guess, furry part and use it as the brim of his hat. Because for this one, I'm going to add that silver sparkle material that I have there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick him inside the bag to try and get a quick measurement of how wide the brim on his hat is going to be. So let's continue cutting this part off and making the brim of his hat. So now that I measured the brim of his hat, I haven't attached it yet because I need to make the measurements for his hat. I'm going to do an outline of the top of his head on this material. And I'm going to actually make a hat to cover the hat that he has, because I don't have enough material to be wrapping it around. So I rather just do the shape of his hat on this material and then make a little hat and just put it over him. So let's continue doing this part. So now I cut two shapes of the hat, and the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hot glue the edges together to form a hat, and then I'm going to slip it right on his head. And now it already has the shape of his original hat, so it'll be a little bit easier for me to work with. And the way that I'm going to attach it to his body is just with hot glue, and then I'm going to attach the brim of the hat. So let's continue with this part. Now I have the hat inside out or outside in, and it's ready to place on his head. And actually I forgot to videotape that part, but that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to cover him. And here you can see that he's fully done. I added the material to his arms. I made him a little cape, and I am loving the way that he looks. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the sleigh that I did to gnome number 1. Instead of using a snowflake for this gnome, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little ornament gift that I had, and I'm going to attach it to the sleigh, just like what we did with the snowflake. So again, the sleigh, we did the same exact thing we did with the first one. The only difference is that instead of a snowflake, we are going to attach this ornament gift box that I already had. So let's finish this off. Now these guys are ready to display, and I really love the way they turned out. They look super adorable. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell to get notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you all on my next DIY.